going on? What else is going on? We had the news yesterday that we, in the first quarter of this year, led the nation. As far as the top 50 largest cities in the country, we lead the nation in murder rate, per capita murder rate. A lot of other numbers came out over the last day or two as well, and one has to do with the murder rate in general. 2020 as compared to 2019, just a staggering increase in murders during pretty much, the big COVID year. At least three-quarters of it was a big COVID year. But that summer of 2020, you had the protests and all that. You had Black Lives Matter, a bunch of defund the police movements coming up following the death of George Floyd. FBI data showed murders across the board spiked by nearly 30% in 2020. That is a huge number as compared to the year prior. It marked the largest single-year increase in killings since the agency began tracking crimes. It was huge, and it impacted Black Americans disproportionately, as murder does all the time anyway. At least 7,484 Black Americans were murdered in 2019. 7,400, according to the FBI. That number went to 9,941 in 2020. So an additional 2,457 Black Americans were murdered over the previous year. 2,457. Among white murders, FBI showed there were 7,043 white people murdered in 2020, meaning there were 2,898, or roughly 3,000 more Black people murdered than whites. Now, bear in mind, Black Americans are 13% of the population. Whites are pretty close to 60% of the population. And you had 3,000 more Black people murdered as compared to whites. All this just gives the group Black Lives Matter something to ignore. It's a major, major, major problem. It has been a major problem my entire life, and I'm just about old. And it's one that people just refuse to discuss. I mean, just look at this city. Any morning when you get up and flip on the news, anytime you pick up a newspaper, anytime you go to a news website, anytime you look, mug after mug after mug after mug of the victim and the perpetrator, day in and day out. Probably about 5 years ago, I think it was, at the end of the year, the Enquirer printed the photos of everybody who was murdered that year. There were like 2 white women murdered, no white men, and everybody else was Black in a city with a 40% Black population. It's absolutely staggering. And every time it happens, you'll have a group of people who get together and they're upset, and we're going to have a candlelight vigil, and we're going to see to it this never happens again. The worst thing was, anytime, because it even has a name, the Ferguson effect, going all the way back to the Mike Brown thing, that when the police are under attack and they back off, the murders go through the roof, in particular, Black murders. Now, you have a group called Black Lives Matter who demanded not only that the police back off, but that they be defunded. Knowing, I would hope, they pay attention, that anytime anybody goes off in this direction, the murders go through the roof. Not for everybody, but in particular, Black Americans. And I would say that Black Lives Matter bears some responsibility, unless they never read the paper, don't understand the news, pay no attention, that they are a good reason that 2,457 extra Black Americans were murdered in 2020 as compared to 2019. When is this nonsense going to stop? And part of the problem is that I'm pointing it out right now. And if I were Black, I would be called a sellout, I guess, or an Uncle Tom or something. But since I'm white, many would consider me a racist for pointing out the obvious. This is a major problem. I mean, if there's a city in the world that could begin to tackle this, why not Cincinnati, Ohio? Why not us? Why not people saying we're not going to put up with this anymore? Why not say, let's raise taxes and flood the street with cops? Let's get neighborhood watch groups in every block in this city, at least where the shootings are going on, and not let anybody do this. How about when the kid's starting to run the street around age 8 or 10, somebody grabs him by the ear and drags him inside and tells him to do some homework? I mean, it's flat out, it's disgusting. And it's something we should address. This is the number nationally. We know that the 3 months that ended like 3 weeks ago, we were the worst of this number. I mean, I guess it was on the news last night. I haven't read the entire Inquirer this morning. It should have been in there. I would hope it would. And it's a shrug. It's the big don't talk about it. It's the big don't bring it up. When will something be done about this? I'm betting not in my lifetime. Not in my lifetime at all. Maybe never. Because if you're black, you're airing dirty laundry when you talk about it. If you're white and you talk about it, you're a racist. Okay, those are our two options. Guess who loses? Thank you. Coming up on 8:50, got to check our traffic, and Jason Earhart's in charge of that today. What's going on, Jason?
Well, traffic's